I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're speaking with author Robert Kowalski. He is challenging traditional religious norms in his thought-provoking novel, Jaycee, A Heroine's Journey. It is set in the small town of Serenity, and he examines the role of women in the Catholic Church and the impact of a female prophet on contemporary society. Using a lighthearted approach, he encourages readers to reconsider their views on gender parity and spiritual leadership. We're delighted to have Robert in the spotlight today. We thank the folks at Good Rivers Print and Media for helping us put him in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers like you to support writers like him by subscribing to our channel. Robert, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Logan, thank you for having me, and congratulations on your body of work. I'm sincerely amazed at the range that you have, the diversity that you have, from serious actor to comedic, stage performer. And I just love all that because my books, both of them, my goal and my mission, if you will, at this point in my life, is to write about inclusion, diversity, and not judgment, and have fun doing it. And you kind of represent a lot of that from what little I've gotten to know and see you. And I just commend you for that, and thank you for your light.
Oh, well, thank you so much for your kind words. I'm blessed to have a good career where I can be the serious news guy, a real news guy, and then a comical news guy as well. So I wear three hats. So it's all good, and I enjoy it. Your book is amazing. Let's tell the folks at home, let's give them the big picture first. Tell them a little bit of what it's about, Jaycee, A Heroine's Journey.
All right, thank you. Basically, it was inspired by, I was driving in a van, minivan pulled up next to me. And I just looked off the side of and I just saw this. I said, that looks like Jesus driving a minivan. That's the first thing. And that was kind of my original title. And I pulled up alongside, and it was a woman. And as I looked, and I could see that there's kids and they're in uniforms. And in the back of the car, it said soccer mom. And that just kind of inspired me. And I thought, there's the true Christian or Christ work or good work, if you will, is this, never get really celebrated or thanked. These wonderful mothers and wives and leaders of the community and business women that are just never celebrated to the point that I think they should be. And they're not still equal in so many realms in all of life. They're closing the gap, obviously, in business and in an entertainment world and all that, and more than closing it. But in the religious world, there's a lot of backwards thinking still. In Catholicism, for sure, which I had 12 years of private Catholic education, which I say was about 8 years too many. I got it after 4 years. Okay, this is what you got. What else is out there?
Right.
And so I just kind of wrote a tale that, as an observer, said, what if Jesus says he's coming back? Okay, so that's one of his words. And he's already been a guy, so as he comes back as a woman, that's not a big stretch, right? And instead, in the modern day, in the town of Serenity, and all the characters are kind of in their Jaycee, Jesus, Maggie, Magdalene. You got, John, the Apostle John, is the water boy for the soccer team, and there's all these little backstories weaved into the tale about the town of Serenity. And the mayor's the bad guy. He sold some land out to Whale Marks. It's coming in to build a giant 100,000 square foot retail center that'll shut down the little commerce. Joe, owns a hardware store. That's Jaycee's dad, Joseph, Joe, and it's going to kill his business. And I have all these stories going on that I think are current and relevant. And I have a vision of getting this to the big screen where I have songs in my head and songs and scenes really articulating it to bring it alive. That would be I call it the new Breakfast Club of the 21st century. Could be really hip, could be really cool to just be a teenager. Yeah. You're not gonna be Wonder Woman or Superman, but you can be a phenomenal, real teenager by developing your spirit, your soul, being a good student, be a good player, teammate. Be a good daughter, be a good son. There's so many ways you can evolve and find a rich life authentically. And I really kind of worry about the kids these days. And every generation does think that kids aren't any good, but I mean, I do think that they're lost and looking for something, and the drugs and all these side things and the internet and the phone distracts from developing their own beautiful spirits that can give them some purpose. The Native Americans did vision quests to find their purpose. That's in the book. Bear mentors her, a native who's part of the community mentors her to find her purpose. So there's a lot of deep thought into it, but I try not to get too preachy. God's a white squirrel, so I can't be too serious. God comes back and he says, okay, I really was sat out here where I am right now and said, how's he gonna appear? Because he's got to be a voice. And I thought, okay, it's in the book. I've already been a burning bush with Moses. And you all think I'm up there with the scepter and I'm this male guy and all that. He says, you know what? I'm coming back as a squirrel. And why I'm coming back as a squirrel? Because I want everybody to know I'm available all the time. I'm in your backyard. I'm everywhere. I'm not this distant deity. So that's kind of the gist of the whole story, Logan.
Exactly. And as you're writing this book, you envisioned it as a film as well, you say?
Yes, I have. I'm adamant, and I'm on a mission like King Arthur to pull the sword out. I'm just this common guy that's probably the last guy that should be writing about, Jesus and all that. To tell you the truth, I was kind of a wild child, and I'm not a theologian. I didn't even graduate college, but I'm a good observer, and I see things, and I've noticed the iniquities of men and women and things over the years, and I just see it very clearly. I can see this on screen, telling a message in a story that's fun, connectable, and is hip to be spiritual. That's my deal. And I'm reaching out, and I know that I appreciate you giving me the time to do that. To anybody out there wants to talk about it, I think I've got a real positive story here that can be a winner and also successful. I understand business, life's a business, all parts are. I can show people how this will connect and return a profit, in my opinion. And like Jaycee said, you can't help the poor if you're among them. So the more I do and the better I do, that's my goal. It's what I want to give. I have a lot of causes I want to give back as my stories succeed and they produce, some of the income that gives me the ability to do more of my charitable work. I'm doing all I can now, but I want to do so much more. There's so much more needs to be done.
Yeah.
And honestly, Logan, the world is dimming. I don't want to be dark here, but it's dimming. It's kind of tough out there. Kids can't go to school without being worried. Can't go to the mall without. I mean, it's up. It's time for people like us, and you've been doing forever, to shine our light to help others see and to say, okay, we got all this negative and fear and all that. But where's the other side? Where's the positive light and the leaders and the joy and the humor, which you bring, and the wisdom, which you bring? But people like us got to come out of the quiet woods now and have our voice heard, and that's pretty much my goal. So,
well, that sounds great. I think it would be quite a buzz to create this movie. Where Jaycee, Jesus Christ, is now a woman, Jaycee. I think it's such a unique spin on it that the second coming, he would come back as a woman. I don't think it has to be sacrilegious. I think it can be comical on some levels, perhaps in people's reactions, but there's something very affirming about the fact that we could view, God or Jesus coming back as female.
Well, it's really not to me that complex or a big stretch, Logan.
Right.
Okay, I was a male. Well, now there's male and female. The second choice, the next choice is to come as a woman.
Right.
And timing's good. The goddess is real. It's in the Bible, and Mary and Mother Mary and Magdalene are some wonderful, glorious women, spiritual leaders, but never quite this twist to your point.
Right.
I'm just saying, let's have a dialogue, a little bit of disruption, a little bit of dialogue. I'd love to get in front of the Pope and say, hey, come on, what's the deal there? How come we don't have, cardinals, women can't be? Why don't we have a woman Pope?
Right.
I can tell you, it'd be the best freaking thing for our world.
Right.
To have the wisdom and the nurturing and the kindness that all the women I know and meet would bring to those type of deep leadership spiritual roles.
Yeah.
We've had at it for a couple thousand years. well, we're not really doing the best job. I think it's
Right.
time. I mean, in some areas, and I want everybody to hear this clearly. The rise of women does not have to come at the fall of men.
Agreed.
I'm not against. We need to do it together.
Right.
100%. But we also just really need to celebrate women and get it equal and get this thing, start healing the earth. I'm talking environmentally, spiritually, socially. There's a lot of healing to be done. And there's a lot of us that need to participate, and women are really our best, probably our greatest hope at this time.
Yeah.
To get some wisdom back into the philosophy and leadership positions. And I just want to talk about it. Say, hey, why not? I've never, what the blessing is, Logan. I've had it out for a few years. I've never had any real negative. I haven't anybody come back. Oh my God, get the exorcist, call them up. I haven't had anything terrible like that.
Exactly.
Mostly very excited, women very excited about it. I love it. Let's,
Yeah.
But it's a little complex, and it's the challenges you're thinking. I celebrate, like I say, Native Americans. I celebrate women. I celebrate the animal shelter in there. I'm big on taking care of the animals. Ghost is a sheepdog and gets adopted. His sister animal shelter, and Ghost is the Holy Spirit. So he's a big white dog. You touch Ghost and you're like, oh my God, you get the Lord, in a way. So it can be funny, it can be very wise, and there's some great songs. As an example, now I know Brandy Carlisle, you're out there. The song "The Joke," if you can think of this, Logan, if you know the song "The Joke," it's a brilliant song that she wrote. I have a scene where Jaycee is sitting with Johnny, who is Apostle Johnny, who's autistic, and he's a water boy for the soccer team. He just got bullied at school, and they're sitting on the bench alone in the soccer field, and she's crying and she's comforting him. And the scene is, you come down on that, and then you go back and see him getting thrown against the locker, and kids teasing him because he's autistic and he struggles a little bit socially, and they see back and forth, and in the background the song "The Joke" is playing, which is just really celebrates, and her whole song is beautifully written about the disenfranchised, the outcasts. You are the golden ones, you are the beauties. I see it, I see you, like Jesus saw them in the old, the real story. And I know how the story ends. I love that. She says, don't worry, I know how the story ends. You're beautiful, and it's going to work out okay. There's so many scenes like that I have that would give hope, I believe, and connect and get us to acknowledge our souls and our spirits that are in each one of us, and move beyond the surface and our little differences.
Yeah.
And skin color or speech defect or not, or real or not. None of that matters. We're all sparks and we're all souls underneath it all. Native Americans knew it. No, we're all bleed red. Everybody bleeds red. Doesn't matter who you are. You know what? And you're a comedian. I always thought about this. There's a statement, and I just learned it. I watched one of your shows, and it was really cool. Really good, everybody. Get a chance, watch them. YouTube. But it just, the more raw you are, the more authentic and the more edgy you are, the more truth you tell, the more universally you touch everybody. Because everybody really has that same stuff.
Right.
They all have those, they all have these same needs and wants to be loved and desires. And I've been to Peru, and I've been all over the world. I was walking with some guy in I think Spain, and my wife was behind us, and we started talking about wives and sometimes what a pain in the ass it can be. We had barely, and I love my wife, 25 years married, but we could barely talk, but we could talk enough. He goes, "Oh, senor, I know my wife. Oh my God, if I don't do this, she's on me." And I just thought, that's all of us, and they're bitching about us too at home. They're talking about, "Oh, my husband doesn't do this and he's lazy," or whatever. I use these as examples that underneath it all, we really are way more alike than not in any culture.
Yeah.
We're all just humans doing the best we can here.
Exactly.
I hope everybody understands how I mean to say that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You've written another book, a children's book. Why don't you show the folks at home the cover of that one?
This one's
Busco, right?
Busco, we're all just mutts after all. So this follows pretty much, it's the Reader's Digest version of Jaycee, very heavy or a little more challenging. This is the same idea, or just what I just said. We're all just people. Talk to that guy, and yeah, I know what marriage is like here too. We're all just mutts. So the basic premise is, it's really a true story. Is I met a dog in Portugal, and I love the Knights Templar and history,
Mhm.
like all of that. So we stayed at a castle, medieval castle, and I befriended a dog in Busaco, Portugal. And for
Mhm.
5 days, he was my buddy, and I fed him every day. And anyway, I had to leave him there. It broke my heart. So
Yeah.
that inspired me to write this book. And when I wrote it, the premise is that this dog gets lost in a storm, and he's wandering and trying to find his home and doesn't think anybody will ever see him or love him or know. And this little girl moves schools, and she's brand new to a new grade school, high school, and she feels lonely and outcast and a little bit teased because she's new. And the dog angels put them together and
Mm.
make, so they find it's a great love story. And I find out, ironically, that busco in Spanish and Portuguese means to wander or to
Mm.
look. Now, when I wrote it, I didn't know that, but
Yeah.
that's exactly what the story's about. Wandering, it's kind of the hero's journey, wandering, lost, and then finding, love and your purpose.
Right.
Same thing, Jaycee, in a different way. Busco's been great. Everybody loves Busco. I'm going to be reading at the Children's Hospital. I've been reading and donating them to the kids' schools, elementary schools, public schools where they don't have the money. And I've been donating them to dog shelters and animal shelters so they can raise money.
Great.
And Busco, everybody loves. Nobody's got a problem with a dog and a little girl.
People
It's
love a
easy.
dog protagonist, that's for sure, without a doubt. Yeah, and you're
Yeah.
envisioning Busco also either as an animated or live action feature, right?
Yes, exactly. Thank you for asking. Both
Sure.
of them were featured on billboards in New York City, Times Square.
Hmm.
Busco above the Disney billboard,
Yeah.
and they asked me because they liked the product and the story. Yes, I see Busco more as an animated story. I got the one, but I do see Busco has this ability to talk to animals and all animals and can understand them. And so the next one will be Busco goes sailing, and he
Hmm.
can tell the whales and the seagull and the porpoise. And the whale tells him that he's seen pollution. He dove down 2,000 feet and he sees pollution down there. Not mean or anything, but I'm just asking, can you tell your human friends, Busco, up there that we need to be more conscious of what we're doing? And,
Yeah.
little messages like that, like Busco adventures around.
Sounds
So
good. I think you need to do some research, get out on a sailboat, maybe, sail the Caribbean or something, just to see that you feel like Busco feels, right?
I love that. I love that. And the irony of that, we're looking to move to Florida, and one of my goals, I'm a Hemingway fan, is I want to take a boat to Cuba. And when I have
Nice.
5 or 6 friends like we're doing, my wife says, "Good luck." She thinks I'm a little crazy, and she's not too far off. But yeah, you nailed it. I am definitely.
Got to do research. So if Busco goes hot air ballooning, that means you got to go hot air ballooning. Whatever Busco does, you have to do it first.
I like the way you're thinking.
Yeah,
Could you be
absolutely.
my agent? You want to work for Busco
Yeah, I
Agent?
think I'll have to produce the Busco series and do all the field research of sailing and hot air ballooning and going up in ultralights, whatever it is first,
We'd have a good time. I know that.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Sounds great, Robert. Are these the first two books you've written, or have you been writing for many years? Tell me a little bit about your writing career.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I've been writing my whole life since 8th grade. I won an award for writing the 13th task of Hercules. I
Hmm.
just made some task and I won the prize. I thought, oh, this is cool. Girls were paying more attention to me and it was more fun. So it kind of got me like, I like writing. I've been writing poems and just little short stories and stuff, but nothing serious at all ever published until Jaycee, until I saw that minivan and I just got inspired. I don't know. I just thought I gotta
Right.
write. And then Busco came in a day. I mean, literally wrote this in a day, but Jaycee took about 10 years. I mean,
Okay.
seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm brand new to the author game and I'm learning the ropes and there's a lot to learn. It's a complex world. You'd be getting published and I had to learn some hard lessons and some things that didn't go well early, but
Right.
now I'm totally self-published and I'm, totally in control of everything on my own. And I'm
Great.
getting a plush doll made. I'm a plush puppy made for Busco that I
Nice.
I want to give to kids that are going through chemo and such.
Yeah.
So I go to a hospital and say, hey, Busco was scared. Will you hold the plush dog, Busco? And he was scared, and I know you're scared, but he turns out great, and it all works out, and it's going to work out good for you. My
Awesome.
goal
Awesome.
is to me, get some help and get those made and get into the kids to help them
Sounds
get.
great. That sounds great. Also, it'd be great for you to do a reading at a children's hospital or something, and then have a dozen or so Busco dolls to give out. I mean, that would make their week, I would think, if not
Yeah,
their year, you know?
I'm actually reading at the Gillette Children's Hospital next week to a whole ward of kids, but I don't have the Busco plushes yet. But I am doing
Right.
just that, giving them all books, and I'm going to read to them. So, and
Sounds
I
great.
read elementary class, which was they were so sweet.
Yeah.
I read until sixth grader, fifth, 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds, and they're all like Busco, Busco. They're all jumping up and down.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's so much fun. I'm telling you, I'm having a lot of fun with it.
That's great. That's great. And Jaycee is available in multiple formats. I think you even have an audio book, correct?
Yeah, I have both of them are audiobooks, and they're both available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and audio.
Okay.
And if you Google them up, and I have great websites, you know, they're both just Meet Busco and Meet Jaycee. If you just put that in, website comes up, all kinds of info. But they're really all over the world. They're in Japanese, you can get them. In Africa, you can get them. Polish, I saw a rendition of the books, you know, so they're out there. They're getting some play, and that's where I'm really interested in, you know, getting to the right people that see how to produce these to movies, because they're definitely working and they're connecting and they're telling them current message that people are receiving well and enjoying, and they're lighthearted.
Yeah.
You know, more loving, and I'm not preaching. I'm not I mean, I hated that part of school and Catholic school, the guilt and shame and the heaven and hell, the pass and fail, all that stuff drove me crazy. So, you know, I'm not in, I don't want to judge anybody.
I feel your pain. I think I went from Catholic school from kindergarten all the way through college.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Well, you know then, and you know more than ever what
Yeah, I mean, a couple of years were in public school, but mostly Catholic school, and it was a tough road. I mean, parts of it was like a rite of passage, surviving it. I mean, I was educated by Irish Christian brothers who didn't think twice about giving you a slap or a punch, you know, the whole bit. And the nuns, you know, give us gender parity, weren't the greatest either. But
they like the ruler.
Yeah.
The brothers will slap you. The nuns like to get you the knuckles.
Exactly, or grab you by the hair, or grab you by the ear or something, you know what I mean? But
I went to a military Catholic all-male high school.
Wow.
It's repressive. You can't get any more repressive, in my opinion.
Well, you got me beat, because I was in an all-male Catholic high school, but it wasn't military. So you definitely have me beat. Yeah, it's amazing. Amazing. What's next for you? What's the next project you're going to work on to write?
We're going to do another Busco. We'll get him out adventuring.
Yeah.
My third book, though, to tell you the truth, comes from school, Logan. It's life lessons from Nature's Schoolyard. Life lessons learned from Nature's Schoolyard. Wow. And because when I was a kid, I was never a good student. Always got through and smart enough, but I would just sit by the window and couldn't wait to get out. And I lived by the Mississippi River and play, right? Yeah. I just wanted to be by the river. So I have all kinds of true stories through my life. I literally wrestled a big old grizzly bear at a sports show before, you know, the lawyers took over and you can't do it anymore. I swam with a bunch of barracudas in the ocean, was surrounded by them. Got out of that, was a little shaky. Got treed by a giant moose up in Boundary Waters. I rattlesnake, you know, I was a guide in the Boundary Waters of Minnesota. So I've had really a lot of real interactions nature-wise with critters and situations that taught me lessons that you can use in the boardroom, you can use in your marriage, you can just use in life in general, that I learned out there in nature from animals and such. So that's my third book coming up.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, there's lots to explore. I traveled across country and I did the northern route last year, and I went across, was it the North Woods of Minnesota? Yeah,
the Boundary Waters, it's called, Lake Superior. Duluth is the city, but everything.
Yeah, we stopped in Duluth and then made our way out. Yeah.
Beautiful. It's pretty, isn't it?
It was pretty country. Yeah, we did it in May, so about this time last year, and it wasn't that cold. I think you've got a colder winter this year. It was a little bit of snow, but not bad.
No, yeah, you probably was better than this for sure. But
Yeah.
that's a pretty area. And, good. Thank you for bringing it up. I tell people you got to come to the boundary watch. No motors are allowed. You got to carry everything in, carry everything out. So it's like 200 years ago when you
Yeah.
go up. It's a great way to get in touch with nature and your spirit again. I tell everyone.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just getting in the car and driving across country is a great way to get back into touch. But yeah, going up to like the North Woods of Minnesota, really, it's kind of feels like uncharted land in some spots, and you got these great little small towns, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, good. I'm glad you had that adventure. Those are
Yep.
fun, aren't they? Yeah, those are. I've done a few road trips, and when I was 16, I did hitchhike to California.
There you
That,
go.
that's where it all started, and I love those road trips. So I know what you mean.
I can see the rebellious streak in you. Back when we were growing up, to hitchhike across country was a big deal. People would pick you up, but
Yeah, back us 60s hippie child kind of thing. Back then, they would pick you up, and hey, they feed you, and it was just a really different time for it's like the Camelot. There was just this little window
yeah,
of beauty, safety, great music. Jimi Hendrix.
I know.
I saw him play live when I was 16.
Wow.
I saw all those guys, the Eagles, all when they just started out.
Amazing.
So yeah, it was a magical time. I'd like to see us return to some of that.
Yeah, we're going to have to get rid of these things though for that to happen.
Yes, those are not helping.
This is both our freedom and our chain, right?
That's a bittersweet. I agree with
Yeah,
you.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, the name of the book is Jaycee, A Heroine's Journey. It is set in the small town of Serenity. Robert examines the role of women in the Catholic Church and the impact of a female prophet on contemporary society. It's an amazing read. It's got a lighthearted touch, and it really will provoke some thoughts about gender parity and spiritual leadership. He also has a children's book out there. It's called Busco, and we're all mutts, right? I think
We're all just mutts after all.
we are all mutts after all. Absolutely. Happy to be a mutt. There's no cuter dog, that's for sure. And there's Busco, and he's one cute dog. Hopefully, both of these books get made into either series or into films. Robert is anxious for that, and they are great stories. I think they would really do well in the cinema, as we like to say. Robert, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Logan, you're a marvel, and thank you for your time, generous interviewing. You're just a really good guy. Thank you.
Thanks, my friend. When I'm up in Minnesota, I'll give you a holler. We'll grab a glass of wine or something.
My doors are open always to you. Absolutely.
Okay, sounds good. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.